The Mesa Chamber of Commerce Inside Business podcast brings you a unique view of Mesa through its vibrant business community and the subjects that are important. The podcast is produced in the Mesa Chamber of Commerce Media Studio, sponsored by the University of Phoenix. Our podcast is hosted by Mesa Chamber of Commerce CEO Sally Harrison. Please enjoy this episode of the Mesa Chamber Inside Business podcast.
Hi, I'm Sally Harrison, president of the Mesa Chamber of Commerce, and today I'm in our podcast studio with our friend Jared Bodine, and Jared is with AZ StRUT.
That's right.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
AZ StRUT's a bit of a misleading name. I've had a lot of people say, so do you work in car parts?
Well, talk about the origin of AZ StRUT.
Yeah, thank you. So AZ StRUT stands for Arizona Students Recycling Used Technology.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah, the name gives you a better indication of what we do,
Yes.
but it's too much to say, so hence the AZ StRUT.
Mm-hmm.
We're actually a very interesting organization. We were created way back in 97 by a combined effort of Intel and Motorola.
Okay.
So we've got some big ancestors there in that respect. And they created us to help find a way to educate tomorrow's workforce in technology and to find a way to responsibly reuse or recycle all of the e-waste that we realized in the late 90s was going to start piling up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So we've been a nonprofit organization since 98. We had that 501c3 designation. But really, even though we were created by Intel and Motorola, we're not like a wing of them. They really just created us and then kind of said, go forth and be. Yeah, exactly. So we have a good connection with them, but really we are our own entity. So we're almost mom and pop style in terms of our organization style and everything.
Well, that's cool. And I understand you've only been there since July.
That's correct. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm new there.
Okay, so how did you get involved?
So I've been in the technology world pretty much my whole life. I started with radio broadcasting, actually. I used to be a DJ in a few different radio stations, and every time I saw a DJ get fired, they were replaced by a computer, right? So I thought, okay, I need to get into computers. And I found that not only do I enjoy technology, but I also found myself teaching other people a lot of things. And I became a teacher of technology after I was an IT person. I was then an IT teacher.
Nice.
So I've been teaching at the East Valley Institute of Technology, or EVIT.
Yes.
I taught there for about 8 years.
Okay.
And then I also am an adjunct professor currently at Mesa Community College, teaching computer repair there as well.
Well, thanks for working with so many of our chamber members.
Hey, it's all cyclical, right?
Yeah.
We're all friends together here. I no longer am with EVIT, but when I was teaching there, AZ StRUT worked with that school to help refurbish devices. And I was the teacher of the program that did a lot of refurbishing. So
That's awesome.
when my predecessor had stepped down, I said it was time for him to leave the organization, I got tapped to step in. And
Very
I've been with them since July, and I've loved every minute of it.
That's awesome. Well, I saw the mission statement of AZ StRUT. That's tough to say.
It can be a mouthful. It's a tongue twister.
Yeah, I saw it on your website. And it's pretty broad.
Yeah.
So what's your organization's focus? Talk about that.
Yeah, because our mission statement is like 7 bullet points, right? So it's a little long.
Yes.
But it's because we do a lot of different things. And I think that's why our mission statement by necessity had to be a little longer. So we are educational focused, as the name implies, but we also work with businesses. And I think that's what a lot of people misunderstand about what we do.
Yeah.
So our goal has a few prongs, but one of them is responsible e-waste recycling. So it takes devices from big organizations such as Intel and those kind of big companies all around the valley, and small organizations. We have lots of partners all over the valley, and we responsibly get those devices either recycled if they're end of life, can't be used again, or we'll work with students to get them refurbished and then reused and donated out to other nonprofits, other charities, schools, students.
That's very cool.
Yeah, and so there's the educational component along with the circular economy component. And sometimes we do direct instruction. Sometimes we work with schools to work into their program. So we're a little spread in that direction, but it's all about making sure that we close that, you've heard this term, digital divide, right? And that's really our goal, is whether it's devices or education, we want to close that.
I assume that you did a lot of that work during COVID.
Yes. Yeah. Our organization grew quite a bit as a result of COVID, actually, because I think that's what made people realize there is a necessity here that has not been filled well enough. Yeah.
Well, talk about the process. How, obviously, you need donations.
Yes.
Yeah. So what's the process to donate to AZ StRUT?
Well, if you're an organization or a company, we have a big box truck, which we're working on getting a new box truck. We actually have a fundraiser we're doing now to help us with a new box truck. Our current box truck, we've loved it, but we've loved it so much it's falling apart. So, yeah, we're working on fundraising.
Loved it to death.
Yeah. AZStrut.org is our website. There's a link if you're listening to this, and our donation period is still going on for that. We're hoping to raise funds, but we go to those organizations and we take what was once a liability or was once an asset is now a liability, right? It was a device. Now what do we do with this? So we pick up that equipment and we give receipts, so it can be a tax write-off, so it's good for the organization. We bring it back to our warehouse. If there's any data on their hard drives, we're very strict with our cleaning process. And I don't mean like, scrubbing physical cleaning, data sterilization. So we sanitize all the data, give them what's called a certificate of destruction. And we do all that before the students get their hands on devices, because people worry like, are students going to be playing with my corporate data?
Sure.
No, they are not. Then once we sterilize the information off of these devices, that's when we do the refurbishing. If you're an individual donor, so let's say...
Like you have a big TV in your garage that you need to get rid of right now?
Yeah. That and
yes, I do.
Black Friday has happened recently, right? A lot of people have upgraded their electronics. Christmas is coming. You're going to have more junk. Yes. Don't throw it away. We'll take care of that. So we take all electronics, working or not, and if you bring it to our facility, it's Tuesdays and Thursdays. It's a little limiting. Tuesdays and Thursdays, like business hours, right? It's a little limiting for some people who have work and other things.
Sure.
Well, we have fantastic partners in the Valley. Batteries Plus and Data Doctors throughout the Valley are drop-off locations.
Okay.
So if you can't make it to our facility at our time, go to any of our partner locations. You can donate there and just say, this is for AZ StRUT. So we can collect from that way as well.
That's cool. Well, if your nonprofit organization works with students on refurbishing electronics and you give away devices, how do you pay for things?
Right?
I mean, you have expenses to run it, right?
Oh, we certainly do. Like that box truck I was mentioning that keeps on falling apart. And I found that box truck, it does not run on used RAM. It needs gas. So
fair.
And the gas stations will not take an old Chromebook in exchange. I've tried.
Dang it.
So that is one of our ongoing concerns as a nonprofit. So we do fundraisers occasionally. We love cash donations, but we don't expect people to be constantly shilling out.
Sure.
So one of the things that we can do is when we get these electronics, if it can be refurbished and given, we love to do that. That's our primary focus. But we get a lot of really old electronics that don't have any usable life. And a lot of people, it would go to a landfill in that situation. We have recycling partners. We call them our downstream, right? And these are organizations that responsibly recycle everything. We do not landfill. Anything donated to us is not landfilled. It goes to those recycling partners. Old computers, we're talking 1994 computers. They have no value.
If that's old, and I was born before that, how old does that make me?
Yeah. Well, we age better than computers, I would like to think, right?
I guess, yeah.
But there's no value in computing at that age, right?
Yeah.
But there is gold and there's metals in those old computers. So we can work with our downstream recyclers to smelt that material out. So we actually recover some money from those recycling parts. And we keep it out of the landfill. So, it's a real win-win.
That's great.
So the last element is we try and get, as much as possible, we like to get grants and work on that.
Sure.
And those grants fund a lot of our educational outreach that isn't necessarily device related. But primarily it's donations of either cash or devices that keeps us afloat, which is why we're always trying to get word out.
Sure. Well, we've been there and we've donated as a chamber. I think 2 or 3 of us brought things in and put with other chamber things that we were going to bring. And it's just nice to know that there's a place to take that instead of dumping it in a landfill.
Right. Yeah. And even people think, oh, this old VCR has no value. I wouldn't bother bringing it to AZ StRUT. No, it adds up. We actually have a huge milestone this year, and I have not announced this publicly, so you guys get to hear the exclusive.
Drum roll.
We have this year gone through and recycled over 1 million pounds.
Wow.
Yeah, we reached a 1 million pound mark this year already.
Time for a party.
Yeah, it's a record. We've never had that much before.
That's
and we have
cool.
a very small facility, so
Yeah.
the fact that we've been able to do that in the space we have, I mean, patting myself on the back here,
Yeah.
quite phenomenal.
How many employees do you have?
So currently we have 12 employees.
And how many volunteers?
Volunteers varies.
Okay.
But we work with organizations. So we have about 7 or 8 that are very consistent volunteers. But we'll have a company come to us and we'll do like a refurbish-a-thon. Or we'll come to their company and we'll bring in laptops that need to be refurbished. So that day we might have 25 or 30 volunteers.
That's cool.
We've probably had this year somewhere in the order of 500 plus volunteers at one point or another work with us.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. And we love volunteers.
Very cool. So what's one thing you wish everybody knew about AZ StRUT?
You know, I think the biggest thing is that we exist.
Yes.
Because I feel like we are the best kept secret in the Valley, certainly in Mesa, right? Because we can help in one way or another, whether it's devices or education, e-waste. We have something to provide, and people don't really know much about us. And that's one of my biggest emphasis. How do you put all that? The emphasis I've been putting on in my role at AZ StRUT is to get it out there of who we are and what we can do for you. And that's really the ultimate goal, because once we're well known, not only can we serve more people, but everyone can like participate together and has that whole kumbaya vibe, right? I want to get us to that point. And we're getting there. We're getting word out.
So how can people reach you? And I assume you have a website.
Absolutely. So it's azstrut.org.
Okay.
And that's AZ is obviously spelled AZ, strut, STRUT.org.
Okay. And on your website, do you have anything about this fundraising that you need to do for your truck?
Absolutely. Thank you for mentioning
Yes.
that. So when you go to our homepage, it's only a half scroll down and there's a big banner right in the middle with a picture of a golden truck.
Okay.
And there's a link there that takes you to that. And we have different tiers of donations. The highest levels for corporate donors will actually get your logo on our box truck.
Oh, very cool.
So if you want to help that
Nice.
advertise, that truck's driving around the valley all day, so people will see it.
Very cool.
We also have a little swag bag, depending on your donation level, some custom-made socks that I'm
They're
wearing
not made
them.
out of recycled.
No,
Okay.
the socks
Oh,
are
look at that.
not recycled. but
Nice.
Custom AZ StRUT socks.
Very
I'm
cool.
sporting them today.
Very cool.
They're green, of course,
of
because
course,
we're
gotta
green.
recycle.
Yeah, pens and swag bag items.
Very cool.
And every donation helps. Some people can't afford
Right.
a $5,000
Sure.
donation. We don't expect that. Even a $10 donation, anything helps.
It all adds up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we've got a lot of work to do.
So if somebody wanted to stop by on a Tuesday or Thursday, where are you located?
So we are at 1720 West Broadway Road.
Okay.
That address is great, but you might know the Stardust Industries. That's the building you see better when you're driving down Broadway. We're actually in their building,
Okay.
but we're on the east side of that same building. So you would just kind of go around to the side of the building, and we're right there. You can't miss us if you just find our side of the building.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, thank you. Thanks
Yeah,
for
thank
being here.
you.
We
I'm
appreciate
so
it.
glad I had this opportunity to visit with you. It's been a real blast.
Well, we'll have you come back and you can talk about your truck when you get it.
Yeah, maybe spinning rims if we get enough donations, right?
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
This has been a Mesa Chamber of Commerce Inside Business podcast. You can find all podcast episodes at iTunes, Spotify, or your own favorite podcast website. You can also find them online at mesachamber.org. Content of this podcast is copyright the Mesa Chamber of Commerce, unless otherwise noted.